All right. We're doing a cooking show, a little behind the scenes baseball. This is the third time I've had to film this, so I'm going to go ahead and put this right here, because if I have to refilm this, I'm going to eat it. All right, gang. So, welcome to the first official episode of What's in the Pot. Again, this is the third time I've said that, so I really hope it sticks. All right, so we're going to start a cooking show on here. I've been beating around the bush and telling everyone I'm going to do it for a while. Still haven't done it, so we're going to do it. We're going to do a lot of stuff in the crock pot, Dutch ovens, things like that. I am starting off with pickled onions. Obviously, there's a pot right here, but doesn't really stick with what I was just saying. I'm honestly just trying to get camera angles, better understanding of how to film a cooking show. Never done it before, so we're figuring it out. So like I said, we're doing pickled onions. I eat a ton of pickled onions. We probably go through a jar a week at our house. So the only fresh items out of this are going to be 2 pickled onions, a jalapeno, and some garlic. Everything else we have vinegar, sugar, salt, ground mustard, ground cumin, and peppercorns. Now, you can really do anything you want when it comes to the pickling seasoning. This is just what I like. We have a lot of Mexican food and stuff like that, quesadillas and everything, and I love putting pickled onions on it. So the cumin and stuff like that really adds a good bite to it. Honestly, these are super easy to do. You don't need to know how to can. You don't really need to know how to pickle. This is a very easy pickling liquid. So we're just going to jump right into it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the pickling liquid going. Now, these hold about 3 cups, but obviously with the displacement when it comes to the onions and stuff like that, again, I'm going to keep it with 3 cups. I'd rather cook a little extra pickling liquid than not have enough, and then you got to go through the whole rigmarole again. Ask me how I know. So, first thing, it usually helps to have a measuring cup that doesn't have everything faded away, but I do have a Sharpie mark there. Yeah, that's 3 cups. All right. Again, I'm going to do 3.5 just because, again, I'd rather have a little bit extra. All right. 3.5 cups of that. So now that that is in there, we'll go ahead and get this going. Now, you know what you're thinking, Kyle, this doesn't look like a kitchen. It's not a kitchen. This is my garage. I made a kitchen setup in here because that's what you do in 2025. You make content. Get after it. All right. So we're going to try not to blow up. Perfect. Let's do that. Come on. I don't need it ripping. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to grab our sugar. We're going to do 2 tablespoons of sugar. 1, 2. We're going to do 1 tablespoon of salt. Perfect. So I add the peppercorns into the jar itself. I don't add it to the brine liquid, mostly just because I'm usually doing kind of like a bulk batch, and I want to make sure that the peppercorns are put evenly throughout the couple jars. Hi there. I'm editing. I realized I forgot to put in the peppercorn. That is how many peppercorns. You're welcome. We're going to go ahead and do, I don't want to wash all these again. So we're going to do about a half a tablespoon. I honestly never measure this. That's about a half. This is the type of cooking show this is going to be. If you're looking for measurements, this is not the show. We're not going to be doing much baking, if that makes sense. And again, about the same amount of ground mustard. Adds a good little bite to it. And we're going to go ahead and pop that to the side. You're going to want to go ahead, give that all a stir. Got to bring it in there. A whisk would be preferred, but I forgot that. So we're using a metal spoon. Perfect. And I'm going to say the corniest thing in the world. I wish you guys had smell-o-vision. All right, so now we're going to do our onions and stuff. I usually just like prep the jar, get it open. All right, so when you're cutting onions, I've done diced and sliced. I really like diced, but I have a full jar of them right now. So we're going to do some sliced onions. All right, cut that in half. Sharp knife is the most important. A sharp knife is the most important. A sharp knife is the most important part. A sharp knife is the most important part of this whole thing. If you don't have a sharp knife, you're going to end up cutting yourself. It is always better to have an extremely sharp knife than a kind of dull knife. You want a sharp knife because it's going to cut through easy. You're not working it. You're just using the weight of the knife to really cut through everything. If it's a dull knife, you're starting to put pressure down. When you're putting pressure down, the chances of that knife going somewhere else that you don't want it to are extremely high. So please, sharpen your knives. All right, so we split this in half. We're going to cut the ends off. Do that with both of them. All right, so we got all our onions halved. Like I said, I'm going to do these in slices. So I like to start with the fat end first. So you're going to hold this right here, and you're just going to move your knife all the way down. Again, being very careful not to cut your fingers off. I want to be able to tell you, like, hey, this is how you do this. Make sure your hands are right up against here and da-da-da-da-da all the way across. I've been in the meat industry for 15 years. I've handled knives for 15 years. I do not cut that way. That is the way you should cut, and you should probably go on YouTube and find someone that actually knows how to teach that correctly. I don't do that. So I just hold on to the end, and it's a sweeping motion. So you're moving the knife over however the thickness of how you want your slices. Once again, being very careful not to slice your fingers off. So now I'm going to go ahead and toss everything in here. If you're doing any canning at all, investing in one of these canning funnels is a goddamn lifesaver. Even for your dry ingredients. Actually, these are onions. They wouldn't. Your fresh ingredients. Listen, I'm not fucking Emerald. I'm trying, guys. This is going to be... This cooking show is going to be a growing experience for all of us. All right, so we got everything in there. This is at a boil, so you can go ahead and shut that off. That doesn't need to just sit there and boil like crazy. Okay. Done. Now we're going to move to the garlic. I like to add a lot of garlic. Now, I know some of the grocery stores we go to have the pre-peeled garlic. Now, I'm not talking about the garlic in the jar. I'm talking about they'll have a section where it's just like a little Tupperware container that has already pre-peeled garlic. Get it. Save yourself. But I also do like fresh garlic as well. I like my pickled onions super garlicky. And we got some big-ass cloves. So that's a good thing. So quick, easy way to get all this stuff peeled is go ahead, take the butt of your knife, and just squish it. Because what that does is it's going to separate all the skin from the garlic itself. And then also, when you toss it in there, now that this is all broken up, it is going to add, like, let the garlic flavor kind of pop out a little bit more. All right, so now we're going to cut to when all of this garlic's peeled. All our garlic is skinned, and like I said, now they're kind of crushed a little bit. You can kind of see that here. So now what I'm going to do, go ahead and pop all these in. Again, it looks pretty shoved in here right now. That's just because everything's fresh. So I usually suggest putting putting everything in here, pouring your hot pickling liquid in, and then waiting a day. Just toss it in the fridge. I'll usually let it sit on the counter for a couple hours until it's like kind of warm to the touch. You don't want it like roasting going into your refrigerator. So now we got jalapeno. This is completely optional. I like it with a little spice. And again, jalapenos aren't super spiced to begin with. And the pickling process definitely takes a little bit of the heat out. So we're going to go ahead and do some even slices of this. Perfect. Now, I will say, wash your hands before you touch your eyes or try to do anything fancy with your wife. This will burn. Ask me how I know. Toss that down there. Now, I will tell you, when you're trying to film a cooking show in your garage, it always helps to have a bowl of just waste stuff. Also, this is good for your kitchen as well. If the garbage can's not right next to you, have an old bowl or something like that you can just toss all your waste into. That way you're not bouncing back and forth. All right, so let me clean up for a second. We're back with the power of editing. Okay, so we have our pickling liquid. It's still hot. We're going to go ahead and use our mason jar funnel. Again, great to have with whatever you're doing. So all we're going to do is we're going to pour this in slowly to not overflow anything. And again, we're going to make sure that everything is covered. Perfect. And like I said, there's about a half a cup left in there. There's some of the extra cumin and stuff in there that didn't all go in. It's going to be fine, I promise. All right, so now put the cap on. You got pickled onions. I have no idea if that's in frame. It's in frame. We killed it. So like I said, go ahead, leave this on your counter. If you want, you can give it a bit of a shake. All this looks really packed in here right now and not kind of stirred up, which it's not. I shoved as much as I could in here, which is what you want. But again, took a hot liquid, put it in with the veggies, let it sit overnight. All those veggies are going to kind of cook. You still want a little bit of a bite to it. That's why you're not boiling the onions in the brine liquid. But pull it out the next day, give it a good little shake like this, and everything will be all set. So I appreciate y'all watching this. Stay tuned. I don't know how this is going to go, but I am going to do my damnedest to do a bunch of these. If they start taking off, maybe I'll do one every 2 weeks. But right now I'm going to try to do one a month, and we'll get it figured out. So I appreciate y'all watching. See you next time.